Imagine walking into your favorite store, swiping your card without a second thought, and unknowingly leaving your most sensitive information in the hands of strangers. What if I told you that a single overlooked vulnerability, something as seemingly harmless as an outdated Wi-Fi protocol, could lead to the theft of over 94 million credit card records? This isn't fiction. It's the chilling reality of the TJX breach, one of the most devastating cyber attacks in history. How did a retail giant, trusted by millions, become the playground of a shadowy hacker empire? Chapter 1. Introduction to TJX Companies. TJX Companies is a multinational retail giant based in Framingham, Massachusetts, USA. Founded in 1976, it operates well-known off-price department store chains such as TJ Maxx, Marshalls, HomeGoods, and several other brands across the globe. By 2007, TJX had established itself as a leading name in the retail industry, with operations spanning North America, Europe, and even Australia. TJX's business model focuses on offering brand-name merchandise at discounted prices, attracting millions of customers each year. The company manages inventory through a highly sophisticated system that processes transactions and communicates with suppliers to ensure smooth stock replenishment. This reliance on technology, while efficient, also made it vulnerable to cyber threats. At the time of the breach, TJX's IT infrastructure included point-of-sale POS systems, customer databases, and internal networks interconnected across its retail locations. The company utilized wireless local area networks, WLANs, to link its stores to the central data centers, facilitating communication and data sharing. However, their security practices were significantly outdated. Encryption protocols. TJX relied on wired equivalent privacy, WEP, an older and less secure encryption protocol for its wireless network. By 2005, WEP was already considered obsolete, with vulnerabilities well known in the cybersecurity community. Data storage. Customer card information was stored for extended periods, often beyond what was necessary for transactions. This included Track-2 data, which contained sensitive information used for processing payments. Monitoring systems. There were gaps in the monitoring of network activity, making it difficult to detect suspicious behavior in real time. These vulnerabilities created the perfect conditions for a breach, especially as cybercriminals were increasingly targeting retail companies during this era. Before the breach, TJX was thriving. It reported revenues of $17.4 billion in 2006, cementing its position as a leader in the retail discount sector. Its competitive advantage came from its ability to source high-quality products at low costs and deliver them to consumers at affordable prices. TJX catered to millions of customers worldwide, many of whom used credit and debit cards for purchases. The sensitive information associated with these transactions included cardholder names, card numbers, expiration dates, PINs, and verification codes. The reliance on electronic payment systems meant that any compromise could have far-reaching consequences for both the company and its customers. Chapter 2. The Rise of Cybercrime. The early 2000s marked a turning point in the evolution of cybercrime. As internet usage became widespread, cybercriminals began exploiting the vulnerabilities in emerging technologies. E-commerce, online banking, and digital payment systems were gaining popularity, creating opportunities for criminals to steal financial and personal data. One of the most significant developments during this time was the rise of underground forums and marketplaces on the internet. These platforms became hubs for the trade of stolen credit card data, hacking tools, and malware. Dark web marketplaces, accessible via anonymizing networks like Tor, enabled criminals to connect and transact securely. Cybercriminals could sell hacked credit card information in bulk. A single credit card record with complete details, known as fulls, often sold for $10 to $50 depending on its quality and geographic region. Hacking as a service. Experienced hackers began offering their services for hire, targeting specific companies or creating custom malware for clients. Anonymity tools. Tools like VPNs and proxies became widely available, helping criminals mask their identities and locations. During this period, hacking groups began forming across the globe, operating like professional organizations. Members had specialized roles, such as malware developers, data extractors, or money mules. These groups often collaborated across borders, making law enforcement efforts more challenging. Eastern European hackers, countries like Russia, Ukraine, and Romania, became hotspots for cybercriminal activity due to weak enforcement of international cybercrime laws. Asian cybercrime networks. Groups in China and Southeast Asia focused on industrial espionage and large-scale data breaches. North American underground forums, US-based hackers often served as intermediaries, selling stolen data obtained by international groups to buyers within the country. Chapter 3. The Vulnerabilities in TJX's System. Before the TJX breach, the company's IT systems were plagued by critical vulnerabilities that left them exposed to attackers. One of the most glaring vulnerabilities in TJX's system was its use of the Wired Equivalent Privacy (WEEP) protocol to secure its wireless networks. By 2005, WEP was widely recognized as insecure because it used static encryption keys that could easily be cracked using available tools. Cracking tools, software like AirSnort and AirCrackNG, could decrypt WEP-protected networks in a matter of minutes by capturing enough data packets. Broadcast range. TJX's wireless access points had wide broadcast ranges, sometimes extending beyond store premises, making it easier for hackers to intercept signals from parking lots or nearby locations. Failure to upgrade. By this time, the more secure Wi-Fi protected access WPA protocol was already available, but TJX delayed upgrading due to costs and operational challenges. Chapter 4. The breach unfolds. The TJX breach was orchestrated by a group of sophisticated hackers, some of whom were later linked to a larger cybercriminal network led by Albert Gonzalez, a notorious cybercriminal responsible for several high-profile data breaches. These attackers had expertise in exploiting wireless networks, stealing payment card data, and selling it on underground markets. The attackers were financially motivated, aiming to extract credit and debit card information to sell on underground forums or use for fraudulent transactions. The group had ties to Eastern European cybercrime networks, which helped launder proceeds and distribute stolen data across different regions. The attack involved careful planning, with different members assigned roles like network penetration, data extraction, and offloading the stolen data. The hackers gained access to TJX's network through its wireless systems at 2 retail stores in Miami, Florida, in mid-2005. Using a laptop and freely available hacking tools, they intercepted the store's poorly secured Wi-Fi signals. The attackers captured data packets transmitted over the network, including unencrypted communications between POS systems and TJX's internal servers. They exploited WEP vulnerabilities to decrypt the wireless network within hours. Once inside, the hackers were able to explore the network and identify weaknesses in TJX's system architecture. After gaining initial access, the hackers gradually escalated their activities, moving deeper into TJX's network and targeting high-value systems. The attackers used tools like John the Ripper to crack passwords and gain administrative privileges. They navigated through TJX's network to locate critical databases containing customer and payment card information. They installed malware on POS systems to capture payment card details in real time. Tools like RAM scrapers extracted data directly from the memory of POS devices before it could be encrypted. To maintain long-term access, the hackers created backdoors in TJX's system. These allowed them to return undetected and continue exfiltrating data over months. Chapter 5. The Discovery and Immediate Fallout. The TJX breach was first uncovered in December 2006 when the company's IT department detected unusual patterns of data traffic. These anomalies suggested that sensitive information might be leaving the network without authorization. The spike in outbound data volumes, particularly during non-business hours, caught the attention of system administrators. TJX's internal IT team initially assumed the issue was a technical error. They began routine checks of the network infrastructure to identify potential misconfigurations. When initial checks failed to resolve the issue, TJX brought in cybersecurity experts from IBM and General Dynamics to conduct a forensic investigation. The forensic analysis revealed that hackers had infiltrated TJX's network and remained active for over 18 months. Several backdoors were identified in the network, which allowed attackers to access TJX systems repeatedly without raising alarms. Logs showed unauthorized access dating back to mid-2005, with the attackers regularly extracting data during this period. It was determined that the stolen data included more than 94 million credit and debit card records, along with other customer information. Despite discovering the breach in December 2006, TJX chose not to immediately inform the public. The company spent several weeks assessing the extent of the damage before making an official announcement. In January 2007, TJX notified relevant financial institutions and regulatory bodies, including the Massachusetts Attorney General's office, about the breach. TJX publicly disclosed the breach on January 17, 2007, through a press release, admitting that customer data had been compromised. The announcement caused an immediate public outcry as customers began to realize the potential impact on their personal and financial security. Many TJX customers reported unauthorized transactions on their accounts. TJX faced significant backlash for failing to protect customer data and for its lack of transparency. Chapter 6. The Pursuit of the Hackers. The hackers left traces of their activities across TJX's systems and in the underground markets where stolen data was sold. Forensic teams examined server logs to pinpoint unauthorized access times and IP addresses used by the attackers. They found evidence of remote connections originating from specific locations in Eastern Europe and South America. Investigators infiltrated underground forums where stolen payment card data, known as dumps, was being advertised. These forums often required encrypted communication and payment through untraceable methods, like cryptocurrency. Hackers often used cloned cards to withdraw cash from ATMs. Surveillance footage from ATMs in the US, Spain, and Ukraine captured individuals using fraudulent cards, helping law enforcement link physical suspects to digital crimes. Law enforcement leveraged informants who had previously been arrested or were active participants in cybercrime. Several cybercriminals agreed to share information about the structure of underground markets and the hackers involved in exchange for reduced sentences. The name Albert Gonzalez emerged early in the investigation. Gonzalez, known online as Soup Nazi, had a history of organizing major data breaches and facilitating the sale of stolen credit card data. The investigation achieved significant breakthroughs through a combination of technology and traditional detective work. Authorities located and seized servers used by the hackers to store and process stolen data. These servers contained troves of information, including transaction records and email exchanges. Metadata from the servers helped identify specific tools and methods used in the breach. Investigators traced encrypted email communications between hackers discussing the breach. These emails included references to tools like AirCrackNG and strategies for avoiding detection. Agencies like Interpol and local police in countries such as Latvia, Turkey, and Brazil provided critical support. The global scale of the investigation required careful coordination to execute raids and arrests across multiple time zones. Chapter 7. The Arrest of Albert Gonzalez. Albert Gonzalez's criminal career started much earlier than his involvement in the TJX breach. He was a key figure in a network of cybercriminals who specialized in stealing sensitive data for financial gain. His expertise in hacking and exploiting security flaws made him one of the most sought-after criminals by law enforcement. Gonzalez, using a combination of tools and exploiting weaknesses in TJX's network, gained unauthorized access to sensitive customer data. He deployed a SQL injection attack on the company's systems, allowing him to extract credit card data over an extended period. This attack went unnoticed for a long time, enabling Gonzalez to steal millions of card details. In addition to TJX, Gonzalez was linked to breaches at major retailers and financial institutions, including Heartland Payment Systems, Target, and Hannaford Brothers. His hacking network was responsible for compromising over 130 million credit and debit card numbers, making it one of the largest data thefts in history at the time. Gonzalez was arrested in 2008 by the United States Secret Service after an undercover operation. Law enforcement had been tracking Gonzalez for years as part of an effort to dismantle large-scale cybercrime operations. The break in the case came when Gonzalez unknowingly interacted with law enforcement agents posing as fellow hackers. These undercover agents were able to gather vital intelligence about his activities, leading to his identification. In 2007, Gonzalez was captured during an operation where he was attempting to sell stolen credit card data to an undercover agent. The investigation into Gonzalez's activities involved cooperation between multiple law enforcement agencies across different countries, including the FBI, Secret Service, and Interpol. Gonzalez was charged with wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy related to his role in the data breaches. He was specifically indicted for the TJX breach, where he was accused of accessing the company's network, stealing customer data, and using it for fraudulent transactions. Gonzalez and his accomplices were found to have infiltrated the company's systems for over a year, siphoning sensitive data over a prolonged period. In addition to the domestic charges, Gonzalez was implicated in running international fraud rings, with his stolen data circulating in underground forums worldwide. This made his activities a significant concern for global financial systems and led to increased cooperation between international law enforcement agencies. In 2010, Albert Gonzalez was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for his role in the cybercrime activities. At the time, this was considered one of the longest sentences handed down to a hacker involved in financial data theft. Despite the sentence, Gonzalez's case served as a cautionary tale for hackers who believed they could operate anonymously in the digital world. Chapter 8. Impact on TJX Companies. The immediate aftermath of the breach had serious operational consequences for TJX. The company faced widespread disruptions, reputational damage, and a decline in consumer trust, which affected its performance in the market. Following the breach, TJX faced significant internal security reviews. The company had to conduct a thorough investigation to identify the vulnerabilities in its network and rectify any weaknesses in its data protection protocols. The company had to upgrade its security infrastructure across all of its retail locations and online platforms, implementing new technologies to detect and prevent future breaches. There were immediate disruptions to TJX's day-to-day operations, including increased scrutiny from regulators, media, and consumers. The company had to allocate substantial resources to handling the aftermath of the breach, which included legal fees, remediation costs, and compensation for victims. This diverted attention from regular business activities and affected the company's overall efficiency. TJX faced significant remediation costs. The company had to invest in overhauling its cybersecurity systems and engaging with third-party cybersecurity firms to ensure that its network was secure. Legal fees and settlement costs also amounted to millions of dollars. TJX was sued by both customers and financial institutions, with multiple class action lawsuits filed in response to the breach. In 2007 alone, TJX spent over $256 million to cover the costs related to the breach, including IT infrastructure improvements, legal settlements, and credit monitoring services for affected consumers. Although the company eventually recovered, the breach delayed TJX's growth and negatively impacted its financial results in the short term. In 2007, the company's stock price also took a hit, falling sharply as investors reacted to the news of the breach. However, the stock price eventually stabilized as the company implemented measures to restore consumer trust and improve its security systems. After the breach, TJX's cybersecurity insurance premiums increased dramatically. The company was forced to purchase higher coverage to protect against the financial risks of future cyber incidents. Federal agencies, including the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, and the U.S. Department of Justice investigated TJX's role in the breach. As a result of the breach, there was significant scrutiny over the company's data protection practices and its compliance with industry regulations, such as the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, PCI DSS. While TJX was not fined by the government in connection with the breach, its failure to meet industry standards contributed to reputational damage. However, the company did face significant settlement costs in relation to the class action lawsuits, further adding to its financial burden. Chapter 9. The unanswered questions. Although TJX was a major retailer, it was never clear why Gonzalez targeted this specific company. Some speculated that he was attracted by system vulnerabilities or the potential value of the data TJX held, but the specifics of how Gonzalez identified TJX as a target remain unknown. Was there a personal connection to TJX's network, or was it purely an opportunistic decision based on weakness in their cybersecurity? This question remains unanswered, adding to the intrigue surrounding the case. While Gonzalez was arrested and convicted for his role, there remains the question of whether he was merely one cog in a larger global cybercrime syndicate. Some investigators believe that Gonzalez was part of a much bigger network of cybercriminals who were involved in similar high-profile breaches across various industries. Did Gonzalez have ties to organized crime groups, or was he simply an independent hacker working for personal gain? The true nature of his connections is still a subject of debate in the cybersecurity community. The breach that started in late 2005 remained undetected until January 2007. Many wonder why TJX's internal security systems failed to detect the intrusion during such a long period. Was it due to a lack of investment in cybersecurity, or were the systems so poorly designed that they failed to catch the breach despite its scale? The company's failure to notice the unauthorized access for so long is still a topic of speculation. Additionally, why didn't TJX have a more aggressive monitoring system in place that could have flagged suspicious activity earlier? This question remains unanswered, especially given the magnitude of the breach. As part of the investigation, it was revealed that there were moments when employees might have noticed suspicious activities or vulnerabilities within the system, but failed to act. Was there a communication breakdown within the company, or were certain warnings ignored or downplayed by management? The role of internal reporting and its possible failure adds another layer to the mystery of how the breach lasted for so long without detection. After the data was stolen, it was sold in underground forums and black markets. However, there are no definitive answers regarding how much of the stolen data was used or whether it was eventually traced or stopped. Was the data ever used for large-scale criminal activity, or did it simply get sold off and forgotten by the criminals who acquired it? The fate of this sensitive data is still an area of uncertainty. While TJX implemented better security practices in the aftermath of the breach, questions persist about how widespread the lessons learned were within the retail industry. Did other retailers take adequate measures to strengthen their defenses after seeing what happened to TJX? Or did many companies remain lax in their cybersecurity efforts? Given the scale of TJX's breach, it's unclear whether the industry as a whole took the necessary steps to prevent similar incidents in the future. The TJX breach left behind a series of unanswered questions that continue to haunt the world of cybersecurity. While significant strides have been made in the years since, the breach exposed deep vulnerabilities in both corporate networks and law enforcement's ability to deal with sophisticated cybercriminals.